I stared at the third letter from First National Bank in 2 weeks, my hands trembling as I recognized another address I'd never seen, Maple Ridge Drive. The letter mentioned mortgage payment number 7. 7 months of payments on a house I never bought. I looked at the 2 previous letters spread across my kitchen table. 2 other properties. 2 other addresses I didn't recognize. My daughter-in-law Brittany's voice echoed in my mind. "It's just a bank error, Mom. Don't worry." But my gut screamed that something was terribly, terribly wrong. I grabbed my phone before I could talk myself out of it. My fingers shook as I dialed the number on the letterhead. The automated system transferred me 3 times before a human voice finally answered. "First National Bank. This is customer service. How may I help you? My name is Janet Thompson. I've been receiving letters about properties I never purchased. I need to understand what's happening." The woman asked for my social security number and date of birth. I heard typing, then a long pause that made my stomach drop. "Mrs. Thompson, I'm showing 5 properties registered under your name. The mortgages were all processed within the last 8 months. The total outstanding balance is $2,173,412. The room tilted. "5? The letters only mentioned 3. You should have received correspondence for all 5 properties, ma'am. Perhaps some mail was delayed. I never bought any properties. I never signed anything. I'm a retired teacher living on my pension. I don't have that kind of money." More typing. "Mrs. Thompson, all the paperwork shows your signature. The loans were approved based on the documentation provided." I ended the call, my heart pounding so hard I thought I might be having a heart attack. $2 million, 5 properties. How was this possible? I called Brittany. She answered on the second ring, her voice bright and cheerful. "Hey, Mom, what's up?" "Brittany, I need you to come over. Right now. It's about those bank letters." Her tone shifted slightly. "Mom, I told you, it's just a mistake. These things happen all the time." "It's not a mistake. There are 5 properties in my name. Over $2 million in mortgages. Please, I need your help." Okay. I'll be right there." She arrived within 20 minutes, which should have seemed helpful. Later, I'd realized she lived 10 minutes away. Why had it taken her twice as long? Brittany sat at my kitchen table, examining the letters with a calm expression that seemed almost practiced. She was 28, always perfectly put together, always in control. She worked in mortgage processing, and Derek, my son, was in real estate development. They'd been married for 3 years. "Mom, listen. Identity theft is incredibly common. Someone probably got your information and used it fraudulently. It happens to thousands of people every year. But the bank said they have my signature. Forged, obviously. Look, Derek and I will help you sort this out. We know people in the industry. Don't do anything hasty, okay? Don't call lawyers or make a big fuss. Let us handle it quietly. These things resolve much faster when you have connections." Something in her tone bothered me, but I couldn't pinpoint what. She seemed too calm, too dismissive of something that had me terrified. That evening, Derek and Brittany came for dinner, as they did twice a week. I'd made pot roast, Derek's favorite since childhood. He was 32, tall like his father had been, with the same easy smile. "Mom, Brittany told me about the bank thing," Derek said, loading his plate. "Don't stress about it. I'll make some calls tomorrow. I have a buddy who works in title insurance. He can look into it." "But $2 million, Derek. 5 houses. How does someone just steal my identity like that?" Derek and Brittany exchanged a glance. It was quick, almost imperceptible, but I saw it. Some unspoken communication passed between them. "It's actually easier than you'd think," Brittany said. "With your social security number and some basic information, someone could apply for loans. The system isn't as secure as it should be." "Shouldn't I file a police report?" "No." Derek said it too quickly, too forcefully. He softened his tone. "I mean, not yet. Let's see what we can find out first. Sometimes involving law enforcement complicates things, makes the banks less cooperative. Trust me on this, Mom. After they left, I stood at my kitchen window watching their car pull away. They sat in the driveway for a full 5 minutes, both looking at their phones, occasionally glancing at each other. Planning something, discussing something. I thought about Derek's real estate business, about Brittany's job processing mortgages, about how they'd both immediately tried to keep me from taking any official action. At 2 in the morning, I lay awake staring at my ceiling. The pieces were starting to form a picture I didn't want to see. My own son, my own family. I made a decision. I wouldn't tell them what I was doing. Tomorrow morning, I'd call Paul Henderson, the lawyer my friend Grace had recommended years ago. I needed someone on my side, someone who didn't have a reason to keep me from discovering the truth. I found Paul's business card in my address book and set it on my nightstand. Tomorrow, I'd find out what was really happening, and I'd do it without Derek and Brittany knowing. Paul Henderson's office was in a modest building downtown, the kind with creaky floors and frosted glass doors. He was in his 50s, with gray at his temples and kind eyes that made me feel like I could trust him. "Mrs. Thompson, tell me everything," he said, pulling out a legal pad. I explained about the letters, the 5 properties, Derek and Brittany's strange behavior. I felt guilty even voicing my suspicions about my own son, but Paul just listened and took notes. "I'll investigate thoroughly," he said. "This will take a week or 2. I'll need to pull property records, mortgage documents, signatures. It's going to cost you, I won't lie. But if someone's committed fraud in your name, you need to know. Whatever it costs, I need the truth." 3 days later, Paul called. His voice was tight with urgency. "Mrs. Thompson, I need to see you immediately. I can't discuss this over the phone." I drove to his office, my hands gripping the steering wheel so hard they ached. He was waiting in the lobby, practically pulling me into his office the moment I arrived. Documents covered his desk. Property records, mortgage applications, bank statements. He spread them out like evidence at a crime scene. "The properties are real," he said. 5 houses across 3 counties, all purchased within the last 8 months. All mortgages legitimately processed through proper channels. So someone did steal my identity. Yes and no. He handed me a sheet of paper. This is a signature analysis I had done by a forensic expert. The signatures on these documents are forgeries, but extremely good ones. Whoever did this had practice. My stomach churned. What else? "The properties are all being rented out. I found rental listings online, tenant reviews, everything. The rental income is being deposited into an LLC bank account." "An LLC?" Paul slid another document toward me. "Thompson Property Holdings, LLC. Registered 8 months ago." He paused. "It's owned by Derek and Brittany Thompson." The room seemed to tilt. I grabbed the edge of the desk. "Your son and daughter-in-law have been collecting rental income on these properties for months. About $15,000 monthly. But here's the real problem, Mrs. Thompson. The mortgage payments are being automatically withdrawn from your accounts. Started 2 months ago." "What? That's impossible. I'd have noticed." He showed me bank statements I'd never seen. My checking account, my savings account. Regular withdrawals labeled as property management fees or mortgage payments. "How much?" I whispered. "Approximately $18,000 per month. Your pension is $4,000. They've been draining your savings to cover the difference. You started with $85,000 in savings 8 months ago. You're down to $12,000. $73,000. Gone. Stolen by my own son. There's more." Paul's expression grew even graver. "If these mortgages default, and they will because your income can't sustain them, you'll be liable. Foreclosure will destroy your credit. And there's potential for criminal charges against you for mortgage fraud. But I didn't do anything. I know that, but proving it will be difficult." The signatures passed initial verification. The mortgages were processed through Brittany's company, which actually makes it look less suspicious on paper, like family helping family. Derek and Brittany have created a very sophisticated scheme, and they've positioned you to take the fall. I felt sick, actually, physically ill. I ran to Paul's bathroom and vomited. When I came back, Paul had a glass of water waiting. What do I do? I asked. File a police report immediately. Contact all 3 credit bureaus. Notify every bank. And I strongly advise you to consider pressing criminal charges against Derek and Brittany. He's my son, my only child. He's stolen your identity and your financial future. Mrs. Thompson, they won't stop. This kind of crime, this level of planning, it doesn't end here. We drove to First National Bank. The manager, Mr. Thornton, listened to my story with increasing concern, but when I asked to stop the automatic payments, he shook his head. I'm sorry, Mrs. Thompson. If you stop the payments without refinancing or paying off the loans, you'll default. That means foreclosure proceedings, massive hits to your credit score, and potential legal liability. These mortgages are in your name. Legally, you're responsible. But I never signed these documents. That's a matter for law enforcement and the courts. From the bank's perspective, we have signed, notarized documents. We processed these loans in good faith. At the second bank, I discovered more damage. Credit cards I didn't remember opening, maxed out to their limits. $23,000 in new debt. Collection notices already starting. By the time we finished visiting all my financial institutions, the picture was clear. Derek and Brittany had destroyed me financially from every possible angle. Between the mortgages, the drained savings, and the fraudulent credit cards, I was facing financial ruin. Paul drove me home. I sat in his passenger seat, numb with shock. What about the police? I asked. I called Detective Sandra Martinez while you were talking to the last bank. She'll meet us tomorrow morning at the station. My phone rang as Paul pulled into my driveway. Unknown number, I answered. Mom, it's Derek. We've scheduled an appointment with Dr. Brennan for you tomorrow at 10 in the morning. We'll pick you up at 9:30. Why? My voice came out flat, emotionless. We told him about your memory issues and the confusion with the bank letters. He wants to do a cognitive assessment. Mom, we're worried about you. These delusions about properties and fraud, the paranoia, it's not normal. I'm not delusional. I know what's happening. That's exactly what someone with early dementia would say. Please, Mom, let us help you. We can do this the easy way or the hard way. Your choice. The threat was clear. He hung up before I could respond. I looked at Paul. They're trying to have me declared incompetent. That's exactly what they're doing. And if they succeed, Derek will likely petition for conservatorship. He'll control your finances, your medical decisions, everything. You'll never be able to expose them. I sat in my car after Paul left, unable to move. My son, the baby I'd nursed and raised and loved, was systematically destroying me. And he was doing it with the coldness of a stranger. Derek was walking toward my car, smiling and waving. I had no choice but to get out and face him. Mom, you've been sitting out here for 15 minutes. Everything okay? Derek, we need to talk. Inside, now. His smile faltered slightly, but he followed me in. My hands shook as I unlocked the door. In my living room, I pulled out all the documents Paul had given me. Property records, the LLC registration, bank statements showing the rental income flowing to Thompson Property Holdings. Explain this, I said. Derek's face went through several expressions in quick succession. Surprise, confusion, then something that might have been calculation. Finally, his features settled into concern. Mom, what is all this? Have you been investigating something? Why didn't you tell me? 5 properties in my name. An LLC owned by you and Brittany collecting rental income. My savings drained. Tell me the truth, Derek. He pulled out his phone. I'm calling Brittany. She needs to hear this. Brittany arrived in less than 10 minutes. Too fast. They must have been nearby, waiting, planning. They sat at my kitchen table, The same table where I'd served them dinner 2 nights ago. The same table where Derek had done homework as a child. "Mom," Brittany said gently, "why don't you explain what you think is happening?" I laid it all out. The forged signatures, the mortgages, the LLC, the rental income, the drained accounts. My voice shook with anger and hurt. And then Derek said something that made my blood run cold. "Mom, we did buy those properties. But you asked us to. You wanted to invest in real estate for retirement income. Don't you remember?" "What? No, I never." Brittany pulled out her phone, swiped through screens. "Look, here are emails from you. Discussions about the investment strategy, about using your credit because ours was maxed out from our own properties. You said you wanted to be a silent partner." She showed me the screen, email after email, seemingly from my address, discussing property investments, rental strategies, profit sharing, my name at the bottom of each one. "I never sent those emails." "Mom, you're scaring me," Derek said. His voice broke slightly. "This is exactly what we were worried about. Memory issues, confusion. You set all this up with us months ago, and now you don't remember." "I would remember investing $2 million. Would you?" Brittany asked softly. "Mom, have you been having other memory problems? Forgetting conversations? Losing things?" "No, I'm not confused. I never agreed to any of this." Derek stood up, pacing. "I think we need to get you to Dr. Brennan sooner than tomorrow. Brittany, call his office. See if he can see her today." "Stop it. Stop trying to make me seem crazy. I know what I did and didn't do." "Mom," Derek said, and his voice was so kind, so loving, so false. "We're trying to help you. Please, let us help. Get out. Both of you. Get out of my house." Derek's expression hardened for just a moment. I saw it, a flash of something cold and calculating beneath the concerned sun mask. Then it was gone, replaced by hurt and worry. "We're going to call your doctor," he said. "And maybe we need to think about you coming to stay with us for a while. You shouldn't be alone if you're having these episodes." I said, "Get out." They left, but slowly, reluctantly. Through my front window, I watched them sit in their car for 5 minutes, both on their phones, both typing frantically, planning their next move. I called Paul immediately. "They're gaslighting me. They have forged emails. They're claiming I asked them to do all this, and they're trying to have me declared incompetent. I'll file an emergency motion tomorrow. But Mrs. Thompson, you need to be prepared. They've clearly been planning this for a long time. They have documentation, they have a narrative. This is going to be a fight." That night, I didn't sleep. I kept checking the windows, making sure Derek and Brittany hadn't come back. My own son, who I'd raised alone after his father died. I'd worked 2 jobs to put him through college. I'd been so proud when he started his real estate business. And now he was destroying me. At 3 a.m, I gave up on sleep and opened my laptop. I logged into my bank accounts, something I usually only did once a month to check my pension deposit. The checking account showed transactions I'd never made. Automatic withdrawals labeled property management and mortgage payment. $3,000 here, $4,000 there, month after month. I clicked through to my savings account, the one I'd been building for 35 years of teaching. Emergency funds. Money for travel I'd never taken. My safety net. Started balance 8 months ago. $85,200. Current balance. $12,614. I sat staring at the screen, watching the numbers blur through tears. $73,000 stolen over 8 months. How had I not noticed? But I rarely checked my accounts. My pension direct deposited. My bills auto-paid. I'd trusted that everything was fine. I called Paul at 8 a.m, not caring that it was early. "They've been draining my accounts for 8 months. $73,000, Paul." "Get dressed. Meet me at the police station in an hour. We're filing that report today." Detective Sandra Martinez had kind eyes, but a weary expression. She'd probably heard 1,000 stories like mine, maybe worse. I explained everything. The properties, the forged signatures, the LLC, the drained accounts, Derek and Brittany's gaslighting attempt. I showed her all the documents Paul had compiled. She listened carefully, taking notes, but her response made my heart sink. Mrs. Thompson, I understand this is devastating, but financial elder abuse cases involving family members are incredibly difficult to prosecute, especially when the alleged perpetrators claim the victim consented. But I didn't consent. I believe you. But they have emails purporting to be from you. They'll claim you're having memory issues. It becomes a he said, she said situation, and that makes criminal prosecution nearly impossible. So they get away with it? I didn't say that. I'm opening an investigation. But I want you to understand this could take months, possibly years, and conviction isn't guaranteed. In the meantime, you need to protect yourself financially and legally. Paul and I spent the rest of the day visiting banks, trying to stop the hemorrhaging. But everywhere we went, the answer was the same. The mortgages were in my name. I was legally responsible. I couldn't just stop paying without defaulting. At the third bank, I discovered even more damage. 4 credit cards I'd never opened, all maxed out. Purchases for furniture, electronics, things that had probably gone into the rental properties to make them more attractive to tenants. $23,000 in credit card debt. Collection agencies had already been calling. I'd been deleting the voicemails, assuming they were scams. My phone rang as Paul drove me home. I didn't recognize the number, but answered anyway. Mrs. Thompson, this is Allied Collection Services. You're 60 days past due on your first credit MasterCard. We need to arrange payment immediately. I never opened that card. Ma'am, the card was opened 8 months ago, and there have been regular charges. If you're claiming fraud, you'll need to file a report with the credit card company and local law enforcement. I hung up. Paul glanced at me. More collections? They're everywhere. How did this happen? How did I not see it? They were careful, spaced things out. Used your information slowly so nothing triggered fraud alerts. And they probably intercepted mail. Does Derek have a key to your house? My stomach dropped. Yes. I gave him 1 year ago, for emergencies. He's been taking your mail. That's how you never saw most of the credit card statements or property documents. By the time Paul dropped me off, I'd discovered the full scope of the devastation. $2 million in mortgage debt, $73,000 stolen from savings, $23,000 in fraudulent credit card debt. My credit score destroyed. My pension check coming in 1 week, $4,000, while $18,000 in mortgage payments were set to auto-withdraw. I was going to default. My accounts would overdraft. The cascade of financial destruction was already in motion, and I couldn't stop it. That evening, my phone rang. Unknown number again. Against my better judgment, I answered. Derek's voice. Mom, we've scheduled that appointment with Dr. Brennan. Tomorrow at 10. Brittany and I will pick you up at 9:30. Please don't make this difficult. I'm not going. Mom, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. We're trying to help you, but if you won't cooperate, we'll have to pursue other options. Do you understand what I'm saying? The threat was clear. Conservatorship. He was threatening to have me declared incompetent and take legal control of my life. Don't come to my house, Derek. See you at 9:30. And Mom, stop talking to lawyers. You're only making things worse for yourself. He knew. Somehow, he knew I'd hired Paul. Had he been watching my house? Following me? I called Paul immediately. He answered on the first ring. Derek knows I hired you. He's threatening me about tomorrow's doctor appointment. He said they'll pursue other options if I don't cooperate. They're going to petition for conservatorship. I was afraid of this. Mrs. Thompson, we need to move fast. I'm filing emergency motions first thing tomorrow morning. But you need to understand something. What? If they get conservatorship, even temporarily, Derek will control your finances. He'll control your medical decisions. He could put you in a facility. You'd have almost no way to fight back. I didn't sleep that night either. I sat in my living room with all the lights on, watching the street through my curtains. At 2 in the morning, I saw Derek's car drive slowly past. Then again at 3. Then at 4. They were watching me, making sure I didn't run. At 8 in the morning, I called Grace. She'd been my friend for 20 years, ever since we'd taught at the same elementary school. I told her everything. "Get out of that house," Grace said immediately. "Come stay with me, right now. If I run, won't that make me look unstable? If you stay, they'll drag you to that doctor and start building their incompetency case. Janet, I love you. Trust me on this. Leave." But I couldn't. Running felt like admitting guilt, like proving I was unstable. I needed to stand my ground. Instead, I called Dr. Brennan's office directly. I'd been his patient for 15 years. Surely he'd listen to me. "Dr. Brennan, this is Janet Thompson. My son scheduled an appointment for me today, but I need to explain something first." "Janet, hello." "Yes, Derek called me yesterday. He's very concerned about you. He says you're having paranoid delusions, accusing him of financial crimes. That's not like you at all." My heart sank. Derek had gotten to him first. "It's not paranoia, it's real. He's stolen my identity and over $100,000. I have documentation. I have a lawyer investigating." "Janet, that's exactly what Derek said you'd say. This type of paranoid thinking can be a sign of several conditions. Why don't you come in? Let's talk. Do some basic cognitive tests. Rule out anything medical. I'm not paranoid. I'm not delusional. He's committed fraud." "Then why would he want you to see me? If he were truly guilty of crimes, wouldn't he want you to stay confused? The fact that he's trying to get you medical help suggests he's genuinely worried about you." The logic was twisted, but convincing. I could hear it in Dr. Brennan's voice. He believed Derek. "I'm not coming to that appointment. Janet, I'm concerned about you. If you're refusing medical evaluation, that itself can be a symptom of impaired judgment. Please, let Derek bring you in." I hung up, my hands shaking. They'd poisoned my own doctor against me. At 9 in the morning, I heard a key in my lock. Derek and Brittany walked in like they owned the place. "Mom, it's time to go to your appointment," Derek said. "Get out." "I'm not going." "Mom, please don't make this harder than it needs to be. We're trying to help you." Brittany stepped forward, her voice gentle. "We love you, Mom. We're worried about you. Let us take care of you. By stealing my money? By forging my signature? By trying to have me declared incompetent?" Derek pulled papers from his briefcase. "Actually, Mom, that's exactly what we're doing. I'm filing a petition for emergency conservatorship. I have statements from Dr. Brennan expressing concern about your mental state. I have statements from Pastor Williams at church, who says you haven't been yourself lately. I have a statement from your neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, who says you've been acting paranoid and erratic." "What? I barely talked to Mrs. Patterson." "And Pastor Williams says you've seemed confused and withdrawn the last few times you attended service. Multiple people have noticed changes in you, Mom. This isn't just us." My phone rang. Paul Henderson. I grabbed it like a lifeline. "Don't answer that," Derek said. "That lawyer is taking advantage of you, probably charging you thousands of dollars to feed your paranoid fantasies." I answered anyway. "Paul, they're here. They're threatening conservatorship. I'm 10 minutes away. Don't let them take you anywhere. I'm calling the police." Derek heard. His expression darkened. "You're calling the police on your own son? Who's trying to help you? Trying to help me by stealing everything I have?" Paul arrived before the police, bursting through my door like an avenging angel. "Get away from her. I'm documenting everything. Every word, every threat." Derek smiled. "Mr. Henderson, is it? I'm Derek Thompson, Janet's son, and soon to be conservator. This contract you have with my mother will be voided once the court recognizes she's not mentally competent to enter legal agreements." "This is elder abuse," Paul said. "Financial exploitation, coercion, and attempted conservatorship fraud. I'm filing emergency motions today." "Go ahead. The hearing is scheduled for Wednesday," Judge Hendricks, 9 in the morning. We have documentation showing mom's declining mental state. We have witness statements. We have her own erratic behavior as evidence. You can fight it, but you'll lose. Brittany added, "We're not the bad guys here. We're trying to protect her from herself and from people like you, who'd take advantage of a vulnerable elderly woman." The police arrived. 2 officers, both young, both looking uncomfortable at being called to a family dispute. Paul explained the situation, but I could see the officer's skepticism. An old woman claiming her son stole from her. The son with documentation and witnesses saying she's mentally ill. It looked exactly like Derek wanted it to look. The officers suggested we all calm down and work this out as a family. They wouldn't arrest anyone. They wouldn't remove Derek and Brittany from my house. They left after 15 minutes, probably relieved to escape the awkwardness. After they left, Derek leaned close. "Wednesday, Mom. 9 in the morning. You can fight this, but you'll lose. The evidence is overwhelming. You'll be declared incompetent, and I'll become your conservator. Then we can finally get you the help you need." Paul threatened to file for a restraining order. Derek and Brittany finally left, but Derek's parting words chilled me. "See you Wednesday." "Oh, and Mom? You might want to check your bank account." After they left, I logged into my banking app. Another withdrawal, $25,000. My emergency fund, completely drained. They'd taken everything, and in 3 days, they'd take my freedom too. Paul sat at my kitchen table, his head in his hands. "We need evidence, real, concrete evidence, that they forged documents and manipulated witnesses. Something we can show the judge on Wednesday that'll blow their case apart." "How?" "We have 3 days. I don't know, but if we don't find something, you're going to lose everything. Your money, your freedom, your life." That afternoon, a text came from an unknown number. "Stop fighting this. You'll lose. Make it easy on yourself. We'll take care of you." Then another. "Keep involving lawyers, and it gets worse. Much worse." I showed the text to Paul. He looked grim. "This is witness intimidation. But proving Derek sent them will be nearly impossible. Probably a burner phone." 3 days. I had 3 days to find evidence that would save my life. And I had no idea where to start. Sunday morning, I woke up exhausted, having slept maybe 2 hours. My body ached. My mind felt clouded with fear and fatigue. Through my bedroom window, I could see Derek's car parked across the street. Still watching. Still waiting. Grace came over at noon, letting herself in with the spare key I'd given her years ago. "Janet, honey, you look terrible. When did you last eat?" I couldn't remember. Grace made me tomato soup and grilled cheese, sitting with me while I forced down a few bites. Her presence was the only thing keeping me from complete despair. "You taught 3rd grade for 35 years, Grace said. "You dealt with difficult parents, impossible administrators, budget cuts, and standardized testing nightmares. You're a fighter, Janet. Don't give up now." "He's my son, Grace. How do I fight my own son?" "The same way you'd fight any criminal, because that's what he is." Grace stayed until evening. As she was leaving, she mentioned something that sparked a thought. "Remember Cynthia from the Teachers Association? Her son-in-law tried to pull something similar. Not quite as elaborate, but close. She found evidence in his home office. Bank statements, documents he'd forged. It was enough to stop him." After Grace left, I sat in the growing darkness of my living room. Derek's home office. He had a home office where he did all his real estate work. If there was evidence anywhere, it would be there. I still had the key. From 2 months ago, when I'd house sat while they were on vacation. I'd watered their plants, brought in their mail. Derek had told me to leave the key on the kitchen counter when I left, but I'd forgotten. Slipped it into my purse and never remembered to return it. Did they know I still had it? It was a crime. Breaking and entering. If I got caught, it would destroy my case. Prove I was desperate and irrational. Paul would tell me not to do it, but Wednesday was 48 hours away. I had nothing else. Sunday evening, I watched Derek and Brittany's house from Grace's car, parked 3 blocks away. At 6, they came out with suitcases. Both of them. They loaded the suitcases into Derek's car and drove away. Suitcases. Where were they going with suitcases? Grace looked at me. Are you sure about this? I have to try. Will you be my lookout? She nodded, her face pale but determined. My hands shook as I unlocked Derek and Brittany's front door. Everything looked normal, neat and clean. Furniture I'd helped Derek pick out when they'd first bought the place. Wedding photos on the walls. A picture of me with them at their wedding, everyone smiling. How had we gotten from that moment to this one? Derek's office was upstairs, second door on the right. The door was closed, but not locked. Inside, everything was organized perfectly. Desk neat, files labeled, computer sitting dark on the desk. A filing cabinet stood against the wall, locked. I searched Derek's desk drawers, trying to think like my son. Where would he keep important keys? Middle drawer, a small box. Inside, 3 keys. The third one fit the filing cabinet. The drawer slid open. Manila folders, neatly labeled. I flipped through them. Real estate deals, investment properties, tax documents. Then I found it. A folder labeled JW Properties. My initials. Inside were practice forgeries. Sheets of paper with my signature written over and over, each one getting closer to looking like my actual handwriting. My stomach turned. Rental agreements for all 5 properties. Bank statements for Thompson Property Holdings LLC showing rental income deposits. Over $100,000 collected in 8 months. And handwritten notes in Derek's writing. Timeline for JW implementation. Phase 1 complete. Phase 2 initiated. Conservatorship strategy ready for deployment. He'd planned this for over a year, written it all down like a business plan. Then I found another folder, Phase 2. Inside were life insurance applications. $2 million policies, on me. Derek and Brittany listed as beneficiaries. And notes. Handwritten discussions about timeline acceleration after conservatorship, about accident scenarios, about making it look natural. They weren't just planning to control me. They were planning to kill me. After they got conservatorship, after they had complete control, they were going to stage my death and collect $2 million in life insurance. My hands shook so badly, I could barely hold my phone as I took pictures of every document, every forgery, every note, every piece of evidence. Grace's voice came through my phone. Janet, car coming down the street. I shoved everything back, trying to remember the exact order. Locked the filing cabinet, put the key back, ran downstairs and out the back door, just as headlights swept into the driveway. Grace picked me up in the alley behind the house. We drove 3 blocks before either of us could speak. Did you find anything? She asked. Evidence of fraud, and evidence they're planning to murder me. We drove straight to Paul's house. He lived in a small bungalow on the north side of town. His wife answered the door in a bathrobe, took one look at my face, and called him down from his home office. I showed him the photos on my phone. He scrolled through them, his expression getting darker with each image. This changes everything. This is conspiracy to commit murder. But Janet, you got this illegally. It may not all be admissible in court, but it exists. Can't the police use this to get a warrant? Yes. Detective Martinez needs to see this immediately. We called Detective Martinez from Paul's house. She agreed to meet us at the police station, even though it was after 9 on a Sunday night. Detective Martinez looked at the photos for a long time. When she finally looked up, her jaw was tight with anger. This is conspiracy to commit murder. I can get an emergency warrant based on these photos. We'll raid their house tomorrow morning at 6. But they saw me, I said. Or they might have. There was a car. What if they know I found this? Then they might run. Or accelerate their plans. Mrs. Thompson, you're not safe tonight. Do you have somewhere you can go? Somewhere they won't look for you? Grace spoke up. My cabin, 3 hours north, near Lake Forester. Nobody knows about it except my family. Detective Martinez nodded. Go there tonight. Mr. Henderson, can you go with them? For safety? Paul agreed immediately. We left within the hour, Grace driving, Paul in the passenger seat, me in the back with my overnight bag and my phone, watching the photos of Derek's handwritten murder plans scroll past on the screen. We arrived at Grace's cabin at 1 a.m. It was small and rustic, surrounded by pine trees near a quiet lake. Under different circumstances, it would have been peaceful. I couldn't sleep. I sat in the living room, waiting for Detective Martinez to call and tell me they'd arrested Derek and Brittany, that it was over, that I was safe. 6 o'clock came and went. 7, 8. At 9, Paul's phone finally rang. Detective Martinez. He put it on speaker. The warrant was executed at 6 this morning. But Derek and Brittany were gone. The house was empty. The filing cabinet you photographed was gone. All the computers were gone. Neighbors say they saw Derek and Brittany loading boxes into a truck last night around 8. My heart sank. They knew. There must have been security cameras or motion sensors you didn't see. They knew you'd been in the house, and they cleared out everything. So we have nothing? You have the photos. But without the original documents, it's harder to prosecute. And there's another problem. What? Derek and Brittany filed a missing person report on you last night. They claim you're mentally unstable and have disappeared. They say you're a danger to yourself. There's a silver alert out for you right now. If any law enforcement officer finds you, they'll take you to a hospital for psychiatric evaluation. I felt the walls closing in. So I can't go home. I can't go anywhere. The police are looking for me as a vulnerable missing person while the people trying to kill me are running free? I'm working on getting the silver alert canceled, but it takes time. And Janet, there's one more thing. The conservatorship hearing is still scheduled for Wednesday. If you don't appear, Derek gets conservatorship by default. But if I appear, the police will grab me and hospitalize me, which is exactly what Derek wants. I'm working on it. Give me today and tomorrow. I'll figure something out. She hung up. I looked at Paul and Grace. 48 hours until the hearing. Derek and Brittany were in the wind. The police were looking for me, and if I showed my face anywhere, I'd be taken to a hospital and locked in a psych ward while Derek got complete control of my life. I'd escaped one trap, only to find myself in a worse one. Monday afternoon, we sat around Grace's cabin, trying to figure out an impossible situation. I couldn't hide forever. The hearing was Wednesday. If I didn't appear, I lost. If I did appear, I'd likely be taken into custody under the silver alert. Paul paced the cabin's small living room. We need evidence that doesn't come from your breaking and entering. Something that proves fraud independently. Brittany works in mortgage processing, I said. What if someone at her company noticed something? Paul stopped pacing. That's brilliant. Who would have seen the paperwork? I tried to remember conversations with Brittany. She mentioned a coworker once. Someone who asked too many questions. Amanda something. Brittany complained about her being nosy. Paul grabbed his laptop. Within an hour, he'd found her. Amanda Torres, still working at Summit Mortgage Company. He called her cell phone, explained vaguely that he was investigating mortgage irregularities. Can you meet with us tomorrow morning? It's urgent. Amanda's voice was cautious. What's this about? Brittany Thompson. And possibly fraudulent mortgage applications. A long pause. I've been waiting for someone to ask about those. Yes, I'll meet you. Tuesday morning, we met Amanda at a coffee shop, halfway between the cabin and the city. She was in her 40s, professional, with worry lines around her eyes. I knew something was wrong with those applications, she said, but my supervisor dismissed my concerns. Tell us everything, Paul said. Amanda explained that she'd processed paperwork on 3 of the 5 properties. Brittany had insisted on handling them personally, which was unusual. The borrower was a 67-year-old retired teacher with a modest pension, supposedly buying multiple investment properties. The income didn't match the loan amounts. The whole thing felt off. I flagged it to my supervisor, and he told me to mind my own business. Later, I wondered if he'd been paid off. Do you have any documentation? Amanda pulled a folder from her bag. I made copies before the files were finalized. Against company policy, but my gut told me to. Inside were the original mortgage applications. And there, clear as day, were the signature inconsistencies. Each application had slightly different versions of my signature, the kind of variations that happen when someone's forging. But the real evidence was in the metadata. Amanda had printed out the digital signature logs. See these timestamps? These applications were supposedly signed by Mrs. Thompson at specific dates and times. But if you had her phone records, you could probably prove she was nowhere near the signing locations. Paul had already subpoenaed my phone records. He pulled them out, compared them to Amanda's documents. On the day I supposedly signed documents at a title company in the city's east side, my phone had been pinging towers near my house 12 miles away. Same story for 2 other signatures. This proves she couldn't have signed these documents, Paul said. There's more, Amanda added. Brittany and Derek tried this before, with Brittany's grandmother. I only found out because I saw paperwork come through, same pattern. But that grandmother noticed and stopped it. Where is the grandmother now? Maple Heights Assisted Living. I don't know if she'd talk to you, but she's the proof this is a pattern of behavior. Paul called Detective Martinez immediately. We have independent evidence. Mortgage processor who witnessed the fraud. Documentation showing signature inconsistencies. Phone records proving Janet couldn't have been where she supposedly signed documents, and evidence of a prior attempt on another victim. By Tuesday afternoon, Paul had filed emergency motions with the court. Fraud evidence. Request to postpone the hearing. Request for restraining order protecting me. Request for arrest warrants for Derek and Brittany. That evening, Derek and Brittany made a critical mistake. They accessed the LLC bank account from an internet cafe in Chicago, withdrew the remaining rental income, $45,000, and wired it to an offshore account. But Detective Martinez had been monitoring all the accounts. The wire transfer was traced, the IP address located. Chicago Police Department was notified. Wednesday morning, Grace drove me and Paul to the courthouse. Media was there. Paul had tipped them off. Public pressure helps in cases like this. Judge Hendricks was a woman in her 60s, with sharp eyes and no patience for nonsense. She reviewed all the emergency motions Paul had filed, all the evidence, all the documentation. Derek and Brittany's lawyer showed up, looking uncomfortable. His clients hadn't appeared. He stammered through explanations about them being unavailable, but Judge Hendricks cut him off. Your clients have fled the jurisdiction after being caught in mortgage fraud, elder financial abuse, and conspiracy. Conservatorship petition denied. I'm issuing bench warrants for Derek and Brittany Thompson's immediate arrest. She looked at me. Mrs. Thompson, I'm ordering all 5 properties be transferred back to your name or liquidated with proceeds going to you. The LLC bank accounts are to be frozen and all funds returned to you. And I'm ordering a full investigation of Summit Mortgage Company for their role in processing these fraudulent loans. She leaned forward. Your courage in coming forward likely saved your life. I'm sorry you had to endure this from your own family. Wednesday afternoon, Chicago PD arrested Derek and Brittany at the Internet Cafe, where they were still trying to move money around. They had $45,000 in cash in a backpack, a laptop with evidence they'd failed to completely delete, and one-way tickets to Costa Rica in their pockets. They were extradited back within 48 hours. Over the next 2 weeks, Detective Martinez's investigation uncovered the full scope. Derek and Brittany had stolen $175,000 directly from my accounts. They'd collected over $100,000 in rental income. They'd planned to murder me for $2 million in life insurance after gaining conservatorship. They'd also attempted the same scheme with Brittany's grandmother, but she'd noticed faster and they'd backed off. The charges kept piling up. Identity theft, mortgage fraud, elder financial abuse, wire fraud, conspiracy to commit murder, both federal and state charges. 1 month later, the properties started selling. The market was good. After paying off the mortgages, I recovered over $300,000 in equity, more than they'd stolen from my savings. The banks, facing their own liability for not catching the fraud, returned all the stolen funds. The credit card companies wiped out the fraudulent debt. My credit score began its slow climb back to normal. But the emotional recovery was harder. My son had tried to kill me for money. That wound cut deeper than any financial loss. Grace stayed with me through everything. Paul became more than a lawyer. He became a friend. I joined a support group for elder fraud victims and found community there. People who understood what it felt like to be betrayed by family. 3 months later, Derek and Brittany stood before a judge for sentencing. They'd taken a plea deal to avoid trial. Derek got 12 years in federal prison. Brittany got 10. Full restitution ordered. The courtroom was packed. I'd been asked if I wanted to give a victim impact statement. I'd spent weeks writing it, crossing things out, rewriting. When the judge called my name, I walked to the front with my statement clutched in my hand. I looked at Derek for the first time since his arrest. He stared at his hands, wouldn't meet my eyes. I read my statement, talked about the betrayal, the fear, the pain of discovering your only child wants you dead. But I also talked about discovering my own strength, about learning who my real family was, about refusing to be a victim. By the time I finished, several people in the courtroom were crying. Even the judge's eyes looked damp. 6 months after everything began with that first bank letter, I stood in my new house, smaller than my old one, cozier, but mine, near Grace's place. Safe. I'd sold the old house. Too many memories of Derek having keys, of Derek watching from his car, of Derek threatening me in my own living room. This house was new. Fresh start. I'd taken $300,000 from the property sales and put it in safe, diversified investments. I volunteered at the senior center now, teaching financial literacy classes, teaching other elderly people how to recognize fraud, how to protect themselves, how to spot warning signs. My story had been covered by local news, then picked up nationally. I'd become an accidental advocate for elder abuse awareness. Every Sunday, I had dinner with my chosen family, Grace, Paul, and his wife, people from my support group. We'd cook together, laugh together, share our weeks. This was what family was supposed to be. People who showed up when you needed them. People who fought for you, not against you. I'd received a letter from Derek 2 weeks ago. Sent from prison, a genuine apology. He was in therapy, facing what he'd done. He didn't ask for forgiveness, just told me he was sorry. I'd read it once, folded it carefully, and put it in a drawer. Maybe someday I'd forgive him. Maybe not. But I didn't need his apology to be whole. I'd already rebuilt my life without him. The lesson I'd learned wasn't about forgiveness or family or even justice, though all those mattered. The lesson was simpler and deeper than that. Trust your instincts. When something feels wrong, it probably is. I knew from that first letter something was terribly wrong. If I'd ignored that feeling, if I'd listened to Derek and Brittany and dismissed it as a bank error, I'd probably be dead by now. You're stronger than you think. At 67 years old, facing my own son who wanted me dead, I could have given up, could have let them win. Instead, I fought back, found evidence, exposed them, won. Family is who shows up in crisis, not who shares your blood. Grace was more family to me than Derek ever was. She showed up when I needed her. That's what matters. And finally, you're never too old to start over. I was 67 when my life fell apart. Now, at 68, I have a new home, a new purpose, a new family. Age is just a number. Resilience has no expiration date. I stood on my new porch, watching the sun set over my quiet neighborhood. Tomorrow I'd teach my financial literacy class at the senior center. Next week, I was being interviewed for a podcast about elder fraud prevention. Next month, Grace and I were taking a trip to the coast, Something I'd always wanted to do, but never had. My phone buzzed. A text from Grace. Dinner at my place Sunday? I'm making that pot roast you love. I smiled and texted back. I'll bring dessert. This was my life now. Safe, happy. Surrounded by people who genuinely cared. Derek had tried to destroy me, but instead, he'd freed me from feeling obligated to someone who didn't deserve it. Freed me to build the life I actually wanted. Was it the life I'd imagined when Derek was born 32 years ago? When I'd held him as a baby and dreamed of who he'd become? No, but it was a good life anyway. Maybe even better than what I'd imagined. Because I'd built it myself, on my own terms. With people who chose to be in it, not people I was obligated to include. That's freedom. That's victory. That's justice. I finished my coffee and went inside. I had a financial literacy presentation to prepare. People were counting on me to teach them how to protect themselves. And I wouldn't let them down, because if my story could save even one person from what I went through, then maybe all the pain had a purpose. Maybe Derek's betrayal, as awful as it was, had led me exactly where I needed to be. Teaching, helping, making a difference. Just like I'd done for 35 years in that third-grade classroom, but now with seniors instead of children. Still teaching. Still making the world a little bit better. Still fighting. Still winning. Still free. Now, I want to ask you something. Have you ever had a moment where trusting your instincts saved you from disaster? Or maybe you ignored that gut feeling and regretted it later? Share your story in the comments. Your experience might help someone else recognize warning signs before it's too late. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button. It helps more people find this content and learn how to protect themselves and their loved ones. Subscribe to this channel for more real stories about overcoming adversity and fighting back against injustice. And please, share this video with anyone who might benefit from hearing it, especially if you know seniors who could use a reminder to trust their instincts and protect themselves. Thank you for listening to my story. I know it was long and sometimes difficult to hear, but I believe in the power of truth, even when it's painful. Especially when it's painful. Take care of yourselves, watch out for each other, and remember, you're stronger than you think. No matter your age, no matter your circumstances, you have the power to fight back and win. Until next time, stay safe, stay strong, and trust your gut. It knows what it's talking about.